Bruh. Oh man. Spotify was failing me. I hope it doesn't get the entire stream cancelled because of the the soundtrack. I had the Dune soundtrack in the background, and Spotify decided to just continue playing it instead of going to the playlist that I told it to. It's incredibly annoying. Jesus. Plus, you never understand what the hell is happening. It's such a bad UI. That is why I don't pay for Spotify. It's so bad. Maybe at some point I will write my own media player, but my main problem is that I don't have royalty-free music to stream. So, haha. Joke's on me. Anyway. Hello, gamers. Well, hello, free software viewers, contributors, curious people. I'm not gonna be streaming documentation writing today. Oh, hello, Bentoil. Yeah, I'm not gonna stream documentation writing today because, well, it's Friday, and also we've been doing that on Monday and Wednesday, so today we're gonna do some light bug fixing. Probably GLib and GTK. Yeah, every time I start writing documentation, I end up with a weird like weird tangents because I notice something that is wrong in the code, and this time we're gonna go straight to the code instead of going through the other route. Nothing too complicated. I have a couple of ideas of what to work on, mostly because they are easy to do on stream. But the other thing is that I don't want to take that long. Otherwise it gets frustrating. I mean, I have a particular bug that I've been banging my head against for a while. And maybe talking about it will make it a little bit easier to follow. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, it's getting cold. Oh, my home office is not usually cold at all. It gets pretty toasty, actually, during the day. But not today. For some weird reason. Probably because I kept my door open. Otherwise, it's nice and cozy and, as I said, pretty toasty. Let's see. Let's see if I can make this work. So, yeah. Yeah, London is getting a little bit colder these days. After the beginning of the year was like almost spring weather. Now the temperature went down around 0. Yesterday, I had to go out in the morning and everything was frozen. Cars, lawns, and the little park nearby, everything that wasn't directly exposed to sunlight was just frozen, which is more season appropriate. Okay, so let's see what's up on my desktop. Right. So one of the things that I was working on yesterday was porting the aligned memory allocation function from Graphene to GLib, which is this bug. Bug 2574, opened by Christian. So on Linux, at the very least, most of our, well, all our allocations are implicitly aligned to the largest data type, which is usually double, so 64 bits. And in the case of malloc, on the system malloc allocator, it's usually aligned to twice the size of a void star. So on 64 bits is aligned to 16 bytes, which means that every allocation that is not like a multiple of 16 bytes then gets aligned to that. But there are other alignment possibles. Christian makes the case for page aligned buffers. So you align to the next kernel page, which is 4096, or I never remember if it's 4096 or 8192 bytes. But yeah, if you want to do page mapping, so if you want to have the kernel map memory area so that multiple processes can access it, then you have to align to that particular size every allocation you do. Another use case that instead I use for Graphene is all the vectorized types inside modern CPUs. So 4 floats, 4 integers, 4 doubles, and so on and so forth. If you have those data types, the CPU can read them in a block instead of reading them one element at a time. You can operate on 4 of them at the same time, which is very convenient for stuff like matrix math and vector math. Because if you have a 4x4 matrix, instead of doing 16 read operations, you get 4 read operations, which can be pipelined really, really quickly. And usually modern CPUs, I say modern CPUs like 15 to 16 years old CPUs have this kind of instructions, and these instructions are like super fast, like between 1 and 2, 3 CPU cycles. It's how we do we do most of our transformations on the CPU in GTK4. So we do transformations inside in the CPU, and then we upload the transform vectors to the GPU. A GPU is a lot better at doing this because GPUs have a ton of vectorized of parallel computing units. So they can vectorize a ton more than a CPU can. But the main bottleneck there is memory. And also, if you have a ton of transformations that are piled on one upon the other, and you have to read them back to apply them to other elements, then it gets pretty slow pretty fast. Pretty slow pretty fast. it gets slow, gets bottlenecked, and doing stuff on a GL shader is not the easiest thing to do. But if you do them on a CPU, then you get you still get fast memory access, and you get fast instructions, but you also don't have to care about memory like bottlenecks, because you can read them all locally from cache lines or from the main memory instead of uploading them to the GPU. It's a neat thing, and that is why I have an entire library that does that, called Graphene. I did a very short lightning talk about Graphene a couple of Quadecs ago. Yeah, it's a neat little library that GTK4 depends on, because we do a ton of stuff that is based on matrices and vectors, so for our 3D transformations. And one of the things that those vectorized type require is that everything has to be aligned. Every memory like block has to be aligned to usually 16 bytes. So not only the memory on the stack has to be aligned, which is easy to do by adding a compiler attribute. Let me see if I can find an example. Yeah. So you have a compiler attribute that says this is going to be aligned by X amount. Where is it? Yeah. I have this type that is going to be aligned by 16, or this structure is going to be aligned by X amount. But also, and this takes care of the stack. So you put this data type on the stack, and the compiler knows, oh, I have to like align this field or this structure to this boundary. But also you have to do it when you allocate memory on the heap, because the heap allocation is not going to be bound by the compiler size of the structure, not in a way that matters. So you have to have a function that allocates the memory using a given allocation. And Graphene has this functionality. So it's called Graphene align alloc and Graphene align alloc 0. Alloc 0 just clears the memory, then 0 fills it before returning it. It's a simple thing. The API takes the size of the memory of a single block that you want to allocate and the number of blocks you want to allocate. It does that because then it can do things like compute whether size times number overflows the maximum size that is available for you to allocate. And it will bail out if it finds that you're trying to allocate more than that. And then it takes the alignment. So you can say, align this by 16 bytes. And if you align by 16 bytes, then it will do the memory allocation but for you. If the size times number is not already aligned, then it will align it for you. One of the caveats is that, well, there are two caveats. The first one is there isn't actual API in the C spec before C11 that does this. So fun. A bunch of platforms have the platforms that we care about, so POSIX or POSIX-like and Windows, they have this API as a specific platform-specific implementation. On POSIX is called POSIX Memalign. Then there's Memalign for older or other platforms, and then there's on Windows there's aligned malloc. Starting with C11, which is now implemented by everyone, the C library, the C standard library is defined to have an aligned allocator. It's called align alloc. And it behaves exactly like this. It's exactly the same. But that comes back to biting us, because it's really hard to implement on platforms that do not already have an aligned allocator that behaves like align alloc. For instance, Windows. On Windows, the aligned allocator allocates memory that, well, that is marked as specially marked. It's not, it goes through the system allocator, but goes through it in a very specific way. So you have to free the memory using a separate function and not the C standard free function. So you not only have to provide an align allocator, but you also have to provide an aligned deallocator function. Whereas on POSIX and Linux and various other Unices, you get you can call free to free the align memory that you just allocated. But of course, that doesn't make it portable. So in order to make it portable, you have to have an align allocator and an aligned deallocator. The wonderful world of C, the most portable language in existence. Oh, God. Why are we still doing this to ourselves? So, yeah, since it's a portable API, the idea is that we should add it to GLib. It's a portable API. Well, it's an API that requires to be implemented in different platforms. So it needs to be portable. And it's used by, it can be used by a bunch of components inside the GNOME stack. So having it inside GLib is not a bad idea. Also because the Graphene API is private. It's not public. I don't want to make it public. And Graphene doesn't depend on GLib for a host of reasons. But in some cases, we do want that kind of API to be available to us. So ideally, we should take this API and add it to GLib for other people to use, so they can also use it on different platforms. And I did a rough pass yesterday that mostly adds the API and the various implementations taken from GLib, from Graphene to GLib. And Philip was kind enough to do a quick review of the merge request. and also Sebastian. So I wanted to have a look at addressing the issues found in review. Also to give an idea of how you contribute to like a library like GLib. Most of the time, contributing to GLib is not a case of, oh, I want to add new API. Let's add it. Most of the time, you have to have some sort of prior art and existing use cases or user bases even. So the rough rule, well, the rule of thumb is if you have 3 users of an API inside the GNOME platform that depend on GLib, then you can probably submit it for inclusion inside GLib, especially if that code needs to be portable or that code needs to be used by various projects that are not just GNOME. The reason why that is the case is not because we hate freedom, but because there are only 3 to 4 people looking at GLib at any given time, and they're looking at GLib. They're not working full time on it. It's Philip, Sebastian, myself, and Matthias Glasen. And these 4 people are not, again, working full time on GLib. Which means that the more stuff you add to GLib, the less time we have to maintain to look over the code and to look over the issues there. You might notice that GLib has nearly 900 issues open and 49 merge requests in review, in flight, and only 4 people that are looking at it part-time. It's the XKCD. Everything relies on a single project that hasn't been maintained by a single person for the past 20 years. We're not a single person, but I don't think adding the time that all 4 of us spend on GLib, you actually get an entire person, an entire fully employed person. So yeah, such is the issue of every free and open source project that is moderately successful. Yeah, so let's go and see what's inside our code. So this is gmem, which contains most of the code that relates to memory allocation inside GLib. The other one is gslice, which contains the slab allocator that we use for small allocations. So the first one is simple. Philip notes that we should probably add an unlikely case to check that the alignment is power of 2 and error if it isn't. That is actually a good question. I wonder what happens if POSIX memalign. So I need to check the documentation of what POSIX memalign and memalign do. So let's go to the man page of POSIX memalign and see the requirement of the alignment. So alignment Let's see if I have. It's a power of 2 and a multiple of size of void star. So that's correct. And the same thing happens with mem aligned. Must be a power of 2. And another thing is instead we should be looking at, so align alloc has the same requirement that I know, but align alloc, the way we use it is on Windows is called align malloc. So what are the Windows aligned malloc? Microsoft Docs. The alignment value must be an integer power of 2. Okay, so we do need to validate the alignment. So let's see where we are. Yeah. So we should have. Do we have a greturn fill? No, we cannot use a greturn with fill. So we need to check for power of 2 alignments. See if we have already. Yeah. Yeah. The idea is that we find if we already have code that does that. Mostly because I want this code to fit in with GLib, and I want to do stuff that is weird. Okay. Let's see here. So I never remember what is the most efficient way. So this is what we do. See. And we go for Stack Overflow. And this is it. Ah, got it. Yeah, you'd think that after nearly 20 years of coding in C, I would remember that. But the reason I don't remember that is that I don't remember shit that is useless. Can you imagine the amount of time I did this? None. Mm-hmm. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Vim. And no, this is going to be GSTR. My finger memory with Vim is terrible. Again, 20 years of Vim. I distinctly remember that Builder used to count the opening brackets and would close them for you, but doesn't do that right now. So I have to count them. Okay, so this one was done. So the other one will be useful to add a comment indicating Erno is explicitly in POSIX line. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, the aligned alloc, memalign, they will set Erno in case of error. The wonderful world of C error management. Let's have a function, tweak a global variable that is completely not thread safe, and do spooky action at distance, because why not? So yeah, this is actually a documentation thing. Function will set error now in case. Yeah, we saw in POSIX memalign in case, yeah, einval and enomem. Yeah, they should be fine. Or we could abort. We could also abort in case of einval. Well, we never get einval anyway, because we do an alignment check ourselves. And enomem it means it will return null. Well, not return null, but it will set null. Oh, it doesn't modify mem pointer on failure. Okay, so we need to do, yeah. On failure, res will be null because we set it to res, and erno, yeah. So we could, instead of doing this, we can do let's see. Yeah, this one, if any function returns null or doesn't set res here, then we error out, which means that errno will not be set, and errno will not be set even for the alignment because we do our check. So if we do an alignment check, we already cover POSIX memalign, aligned alloc on Linux, and memalign. Which means that we don't ever set errno to something that is reasonable. The main problem is that I don't know if doing something like this, yeah, it should be fine. Let's see. Because latest versions of the GNU libc started adding compile attributes to say, oh, you didn't store the return value of this function, which means now we're starting to get a bunch of compiler warnings that we didn't used to get. Not lib dear. Oh, Jesus, Manuela. So yeah, you see, you started getting this. Okay, POSIX memalign will warn you if you are not using the return value. So we need to do something like yeah, errno equals, but we never set errno anyway. But we clear it just in case. So we clear it, but I'll leave a comment saying exactly that. To mem for OEM cases and inval for wrong alignment values. Since in both cases we bail out, there's no way to handle errno. The main problem is that POSIX memalign in the C will warn if you don't use its return value. Errno detail out documentation. Yeah, this should take care of it. We don't strictly need to document it because, well, there's nothing you can do. All possible cases will result in GLib terminating. Well, the process terminating. And if the process terminates, then you cannot catch it up. which is one of the reasons why our memory allocation policy is kind of strict that way. There's literally no, if you cannot allocate anything, then there's literally no point in you doing anything about it. What are you gonna do? You're gonna print out something on terminal? Printing out something on terminal requires memory allocations. You cannot allocate memory? What the hell are you doing? Plus, it's not like Linux allows you to deal with that case anyway, with overallocation, with allocation overcommitment. You can ask for 4 gigabytes of memory, and the Linux kernel will gladly give it to you. Of course, as soon as you start using it, that's another thing. Next comment. I think there's a chance disk overflow real size if allocated a large number of small blocks with a larger alignment. That is absolutely true. So we need to ensure that the real size and the alignment offset doesn't overflow. The size overflows macro is, where is it defined? Okay. Oh, there it is. So, let's see. So we want to ensure that okay. We want to ensure that real size does not overflow when we add. So if we do stuff like let's see. If real size actually G max size minus real size is bigger than alignment minus offset. 1, 2. Yeah. So if we have the max size, we subtract the real size, which must be smaller than max size. And what we have is less than the alignment minus the offset, then we error out. Okay. They should do the trick. The overflow of the signed sizes is always a pain in the ass. You have to be careful about all this shit because people will put random stuff inside the arguments, and then when stuff blows up, which it will, you'll get a shocked Pikachu face. Ah, okay. Is it best to return potential non-line allocation decays? Yeah, I'm not gonna do manual memory alignment. We can probably error out. I mean, the real size is gonna be aligned. Blair. We could do the same trick here. And basically just tweak the real size so that it's aligned. And you get more memory. Which will then be aligned itself to the nearest size of void star. Or we can bail out. But if we bail out, this function does not really behave like every other GLib memory allocator, which does not return null unless you passed a 0 size. If you ask it to allocate a certain amount of memory, it will try and allocate that amount of memory. And if that amount of memory doesn't work, then the thing will crash. Well, will abort. And the reason why that happens is that it simplifies your code a lot. You have no idea. If you want to handle out of memory conditions in your code, well, there are two things. The first one is the amount of code that will go into the OOM handling is going to be at a conservative estimate between twice and 3 times the size of the existing code, if not even worse. But a conservative estimate is 2 to 3 times. And the other thing is that you have to test it. Because if you don't test it, it's just a ton of code that does who knows what. And testing out of memory conditions is not that trivial. You need to have a test suite that does that. And if you have a test suite that does that, it also has to basically replace the system allocator. Because on Linux, as I said before, you can get all the memory you want. And if you get all the memory you want, then so you have to basically write your own system allocator replacement, load it up inside your test suite, run it, and make it return null at random, so you can test whether or not the memory allocation functions actually work and the OOM handling actually works. Because until you do that, you don't have OOM handling. The only low-level library that I know of that does that is actually libdbus. And the amount of code that goes into that to handle out-of-memory conditions is bonkers. So yeah, there's literally no point in handling out-of-memory conditions for anything that is not so low-level that has to run, I don't know, inside paid one, probably. It's much better if it fails. Just okay, you didn't get the memory you requested. Your system is screwed anyway. Better to restart. So yeah. The question is, do we return null? Do we error out because you don't have an aligned allocator? We could literally do something like this. And basically you get, okay, if you're building GLib on a platform that does not have that, well, sucks to be you, but you get to port it. My personal opinion is that we should not even attempt make the attempt at being clever and instead error out during the GitLab compilation if you don't have an aligned allocator function available on your platform. So yeah, the other thing that we are missing out is testing. Yeah. So yeah, let's try and see if we can test this thing. Yeah, do we have some new in no, not GNU, but G, for instance, try malloc. We do in the utils. So we could add not Vim. Why am I using Vim? I have already an ID. What the hell? So we can go in the tests and we can go inside the utils file. And then check here. Here. And we can add something like void test aligned mem enter a equals g aligned alloc 0 no a a g aligned alloc 0 0. What the hell am I doing? It's gonna be like 0 size of int aligned 8. Cannot just copy the invocation when the API is different. Jesus. Okay, this is about a contract. If you pass 0 for any argument except the alignment, then you get null. So if we do something like this, let's say 16, 0, 8, you should still get null. Let's go here. Where is it? Miscmem, and we add it instead. Add rank details aligned mem. We should also add add note best summary line memory allocator. It's always good if you have a test using the GLib test API to specify a summary for your test so that the log will not be completely opaque when you're reading it. It's new API. The GLib testing API has so many problems, but it doesn't necessarily need to suck. What the hell? It doesn't necessarily need to suck. It's not a good API. It's not good design to begin with. It's all based on assertions and on basically just as soon as you hit an assertion failure, the test will bail out, which is not great because the tests are supposed to fail, but the test suite is supposed to go on. So you can collect all the information and you can pinpoint the place where the failure happened without necessarily just torching the entire thing. Especially if you go into things like using the test anything protocol, where you basically have to specify the amount of tests you run, and then you run them, and failures are part of a test plan. It also makes it super complicated to have tests that are expected to fail. Then you have to basically run them into a separate process and then collect the output, and oh god, it's so much pain and suffering for nothing. But having said that, where is it? Yeah. What the heck is it doing? They use the state there. What? Oh, this is Meson. Well, this is JH build and Meson. Yeah. Ah, okay. Okay. Oh, what the heck? This is fun. Okay, so we found a bug inside our code. I'm an idiot, of course. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can see there's a test. The test gets a comment saying this is the align memory allocator test. So okay. So we can test the API contract, which is if you pass stuff that is invalid, you get null. Well, if you pass 0, you get null. Another thing we can test is if you're trying to get bad stuff into it, like a non-power of 2 alignment. In order to do that, though, we need to do something like this. Where is it? Not overflow. Where is it? The mem overflow. Yep. So mem overflow is actually a subprocess. Jesus. That runs the test. Yeah. Okay. So basically what we have to do is run the test inside a separate process. And this is the pain. You run the test inside a separate process. You run it, and then we collect the output. Oh, God. Such a pain in the ass. So I love comments left by people that were trying to understand what the hell was the test doing. Fail here apparently means fail to overflow. Ah, God. So let's see. Yeah, we can do something like this for our own stuff. And go here. And then do something like this. And alloc. So if we do stuff like void line alloc and bot, and we do a equals g aligned alloc, let's say 16, size of char, but we align it to 15. There's still a certain null, but this will error out. I never remember the... Yeah. No, we need to do separate. We basically need to define... Yeah, this is why I don't like gtest. This entire API is such a... Okay, so... It's gonna be... then we have to do something like this elsewhere. Aligned alloc endpoint. This is not aligned num, but it's... And align alloc endpoint. Alloc endpoint. Yeah. This is... Airflow test. Yeah, it's such a bloody... So it's gonna be here. Ugh. God, I hate this. Yep. So if I do something like this, and It's such a pain in the ass. But yeah, basically what I've done is I'm running this test, which I defined previously here, as a sub-process. So as a separate process, the process will abort, and I'm then going to ensure that the assertion has failed. So just to make sure I didn't fuck up, if I put past here, and then I run this, yes. So, yeah. Yeah, just to ensure that I didn't fuck up. Because it's a classic. So yeah, now we are, let's see. Let's add a message here. Okay. Test message MSG. So we can do something like must be power up. So if we do something like this, yep. It must be power 2. So whenever it fails, we get a memory warning saying you failed in this particular case. Otherwise, we'd have to add it here, for instance, and I don't want to. Okay. Do we have other cases where we error out? Well, the overflow stuff. But for the overflow, we might want to add it here as a case of alignment. Like, for instance, adding yeah, something like this. And then, what the hell? Okay. Overflow test. Aligned. Okay. And then we do p equals g aligned malloc x a 16. Yep. Mem overflow aligned malloc b and p equals g aligned malloc x b 16. This one should work. So then we do check subprocess pass and Okay. No, it's not here. It's gonna be here or somewhere else. Where is it gonna be? No, it's gonna be, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be check subprocess fail. It's gonna be aligned alloc A, and then check subprocess pass and alloc B. And then we need to add here. Mm. This one should do the trick. Oh, I'm already into the okay. What is it doing? What is he doing? Too few arguments. What? What? Oh, yeah. I cannot pass hex. I have to pass another thing. Yeah. Yeah. Skipping stuff. Yeah. It's a process. Flow. Yeah. Need to skip that. But it's running the subprocesses. Yeah. That seems to have worked. Yeah. Yeah, that should have worked. So we do have, at the very least, an approximation, a good beginning of a test suite. So we are going to do this. So we fix up. Oh. And then and then we add test for GLine alloc. We want to test the API contract, and by checking the return value for zero size allocation, invalid alignments, and overflows. So we are base against main. Yes, please reload. And then we push to the merge request branch. Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass. Also, it's a pain when you have to page in the memory of how projects work. Okay, so we resolve it. Yeah, I'm not gonna resolve that. Okay. Resolve that and resolve that. Okay, so Philip left a comment while I was hacking on stuff, and he just wants a comment. Okay, so we just add a comment. A simple, yeah. Does no, let's actually add. We need POSIX mem line will use its return value as a subs in the same way, and align and aligned alloc will set no. Definitely POSIX mem align will warn if its return value is left unassigned. We handle all possible return values. Mem and info with either precondition or post condition checking. Right. Okay. So. Explain is in mind. I don't want to fix up the commit. Thumbs up. This should tell you my frequently used emote on GitLab. Yeah, this is it. Most of the time. Okay. Not common at all. C11 mandates 1 and platforms. Something equivalent. And it should be part of the sorting process for GitLab to ensure. Technically speaking, we do require an aligned allocator for GSlice in any case. Yeah, GSlice has an align allocator. To be honest, I never actually looked at whether or not GSlice has a fallback for an align allocator. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, POSIX, Memeline, and Memeline. Or VLOG. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yuck. Oh, my God. What is this? Whoa, what is this? Oh, my God. What the hell is this? Oh, Jesus. I honestly don't know if anybody has ever tested this code. Oh, man. Yeah. This is why I don't go looking into GSlice. Because every time I go look into GSlice, I just regret having had lunch. Anyway. Okay, for the time being, we're fine. We don't need to go any deeper than this. We'll get more feedback after the second round of reviews. I'm always I don't have any expectation about GLib GLib merge requests in terms of time, because the last time I think GLib has my longest time between writing the code and merging the code when I did the reference counted strings merge request. I think it was more than 10 years. Yeah, definitely more than 10 years. But yeah. Oh, okay. A little bit of break now. So. Yeah, when people go, oh, I open a merge request and it didn't get merged in like the next day or like the next 6 months or next year, and like yeah, I've been there. It takes a while. It does take a while. Like, yeah, the reference counted strings. Where is it? Git show. No. Git log. Graph string. So reference counted strings. No, I have to go ref count for reference counted type. Yeah, it landed in 2018, but I definitely wrote this code 10 years before that. So yeah, it's basically pointless to just complain about merge requests not getting merged in a week. As I said, there are only 4 people looking at GLib at any given time, and for being a low-level library, you cannot really expect stuff to move as quickly as you'd like. It's not a JavaScript framework. I mean, come on. Okay. So we have this. What are the other merge requests in flight? There are a bunch of stuff open. Latest issues. For instance, this. 18 years ago. It's 18 years. Oh, no. No. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so sorry. No. Oh. Oh, no. Does it work? Yes. Oh, God. This is GitLab. It will try to match hash 12 to the issue 12, even in the title of a merge request. Yikes. So every time you do this, Oh, no. No. So we have to fix it. Otherwise it will try to... Yeah, sometimes GitLab is... No. Oh, God. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it makes... It makes any issue... The issue list, it makes it completely useless. Okay. No, I will never look at this code. VA copy, no working Apple Silicon. If you want to send me an M1, feel free. Okay. Better document G file won't have any changes done in. This is too complicated. What is this? Okay. This is an interesting question about expectations. We usually document things that are asynchronous and thread safe. If it's not documented that way, then you have to assume, well, you have to start from the fundamental step of saying this is both synchronous and non-thread safe. That is the base state of everything inside GLib. But I assume that a bunch of people come over from other platforms and environments that assume that everything is asynchronous unless otherwise specified. Now typically start from baseline of everything being synchronous and not at, and we note API that is synchronous and types that are safe. But yeah. It's pretty interesting to see that somebody using XFCE is wondering. Yeah. Well, aside from the fact that it goes completely over, I'm not entirely. I'm not entirely fond of that, but yeah. Yeah, it's worth it's a worth it's worthy of a note in the documentation that signals are synchronous. I guess I never expected anybody to think they are not. Otherwise, it would be called J-signal meta sync. But I also know how signals are implemented. Yeah. Okay. Should we go to GTK? Let's go and move to GTK instead of staying in GLib. So Windows, we don't care. GTK 3, we don't care. Accessibility. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Okay. The text language exposed seems to always coincide with app locale. Or locale. I have no idea how it's pronounced. Locale or locale? Oh, I have always seen written, but very rarely heard it pronounced. Uh-huh. So, yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting one because it's not really a GTK thing. So basically the issue here is that the spell checking has nothing to do with the locale or locale. And you can change the spell checking, but you cannot change the locale of a application at runtime. Because the Unix designers, in their infinite wisdom, put everything pertaining localization into environment variables and functions that are not thread safe. So you cannot change locale or locale of an application while the application is running. Because if you try to do that, you'd have to reload the entire state of the application. And there is no mechanism to let you do that. You can only change the language, the locale of an application as the first thing you do at startup before you load everything else. And spell checking has nothing to do with that. Spell checking is done by literally sending strings to a spell checker, and the spell checker will check inside its own dictionaries and stuff, and then return whether or not it's valid or not. Set that and cannot be changed until the is restarted. Spell checking is a service that is handled by application, and application can be changed at one time. There is no way to changing the spell checking language changes the dictionary being used to okay, does not know anything about that. Okay. Because it happens at later. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I let Joni respond or close the bug at this point. For this kind of issues that are not entirely actionable, I usually redirect people to discourse because we have 1,319 issues open in GTK, and GitLab is not really a discussion forum. But since it's Joni, and Joni is, well, she knows how things work in GNOME, I can just I can just do a quick discussion on GitLab. She knows when to close an issue. Oh, hi, Putin Vlado. Yeah, it's a lot of issues. And we managed to pare it down to 1,000-ish with the release of GTK 4. But since the release of GTK 4, it's been a lot. We have new issues. We have new tracker issues for GTK 5. Yeah. It's always the case. Every once in a while, I just go and do something like this. So triaging with Emanuele. You go to the last page to get the oldest untouched issues, and you see what happens. Like GTK widget emulate press segfaults if event is for a destroyed window. There is no version of GTK and no like 3 years ago it could have been GTK 2 or GTK 3 or the platform. Who knows? It does say gesture start and gesture end, which means it could be a GTK 3 issue. But who knows? So let's add GTK 3 here. We already have an input tag. Yeah. So let's add it there and we'll see. This is not valid for GTK 4, for instance. Doesn't make any sense in GTK 4. We don't do that. Bindings on keypad direction incorrectly activate for different modifiers. Last tested with GTK 3.22, and there's a commit in meld. with a test for in Python and GTK source view. Who knows? Because this has been already triaged. Yeah. People think that free and open source software projects are software projects. They're not software projects. Software projects are if it's a single person, it's a software project, unless you suffer from multiple personalities disorder. But as soon as you start involving more than one person, the technological side of things, the software side of things, cease to be a problem. The actual problem, well, it's not a problem. The actual thing is a social problem, is a social issue. So politics in the sense of figuring out solutions to social issues. It has nothing to do, like, it's not a negative there's no negative connotation. You have to play politics. Well, play politics. You have to deal with politics. So you have to deal with people interacting. Yeah, compromises. But people always think that because you're dealing with software development, that everyone will be like logical, which is false. It's never the case. It doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way. It's actually a lie. Everyone sells you the lie that computers are logical, and so software development has to be logical and has to be dispassionate and has to be obvious truth. There's an obvious truth and you have to follow that and everything works that way. And yeah, no, nothing works that way. Aside from the fact they have to interact with other people, you also write code as a result of what you've been doing. So it's personal. It's deeply, deeply personal. It's never something that is decoupled from who you are and what you've learned, what you do, what your beliefs are. Because it's not a machine writing the code, it's a human being. And if the human being is writing the code, then it comes with biases and comes with ethics, and it comes with personal views and history. So it's a social thing, even when you're alone, because you're the result of social forces and social dynamics. And people that do not program, like people that are typically on the sidelines, they will think that everything is done logically and with a like facts and logic, and everyone will be convinced by facts and logic, and it's not true. And this is not just free and open source software, by the way. It's in the commercial space is exactly the same, except that usually you have to deal with vice presidents and managers dictating technological decisions because they watched a video on YouTube, or they went to another a conference between other vice presidents, VPs, and other people that way, and they think they can do technological stuff, technological decisions. Okay. Yeah, I usually end up ranting on this stuff like on the regular, but it's no. Let's see. What are other very old bugs? I thought we fixed this. I mean, we added padding. Why are we still dealing with this crap? Pop-up displacement. The pop-up displacement is part of the theme. It's 4 years ago. Jesus, let it go. Let it go. We should just close this shit. Mm-hmm. Okay, GTK 3 on macOS. Let's see if Christian can deal with this. Yeah, at the very least, we should probably check that people are usually they are still interested in stuff. Otherwise, oh my god, print does not center. Yeah, why do we even have printing inside the toolkit? Oh Jesus. Yeah, but this is GTK 2. This is GTK 2. There's not even a tag for that. Okay, GTK 2 is EOL since December 2020. This happens with GTK 3 or later. Please reopen. Yeah, honestly, printing, big mistake. File chooser, I will not look at the file chooser. We have a ton of printing issues. 28. Like, yeah, Windows. Okay. But I have no idea if this still applies to GTK 3 or whatever. Yeah, it does. 2 months ago. At the very least, it was updated 2 months ago. Yeah, Windows is another black hole. Yeah, but so this is a bug in cups. It's not a bug in GTK, really. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna go inside the printing black hole because otherwise I'll go insane. It's such a terrible, terrible idea. I mean, but yeah, if you go through the list of issues in GitLab, you will see that there are issues that have been open for like 7-8 years, especially because the ones that have been migrated from Bugzilla. But yeah, there are very old issues. It's not that. So let's be clear. It's not that we don't care. The fact that we receive bug mail is already enough to make us care, but there are bugs that are not trivial. The trivial bugs have already been fixed or closed. This stuff is the stuff that is hard to replicate or happens on non-common platforms like Windows. Not common platforms for GTK developers, of course. So if this stuff happens there, it's hard to deal with it. We don't write on Windows. We don't write code on Windows. Most of us, at the very least. And in some cases, just it happened once to one person on GTK2 or using the GIMP, and who knows? Maybe will happen again. What is this? Oh yeah, this file shows a button. Yeah. So mm-hmm. I don't know. A 4-year-old, sorry, a 6-year-old bug for a widget that doesn't exist anymore. For something that the widget does and really cannot be fixed. It's not like we can do much about it. It's annoying. Nobody should be using GTFile choose a button. What the? Yikes. Importing bugs from Bugzilla is always fun. What the hell is this? GitLab. So this is fun. Okay. I have no idea what it is. 312. Oh man. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Stop changing selection mouse wheel events. What the hell? Yeah, you're technically scrolling a list. Of the audio output using the scroll period on a volume. But yeah, let's close it. We're not going to change anything this way. I understand that it's annoying. Browser behavior. Browser behavior is a mess. It's the same thing as trying to scroll. So if you have like a panel full of what's it called, of audio volumes, and then you try to scroll through them, even with a even touch screen or anything else, it will get captured by one of the scrolling things. That happens on every device. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, to have a page that scrolls in the scrolls, and inside it have UI elements that also scroll, because of how event delivery is implemented. So I understand the side effect is not great, but also it's not like you have to scroll directly on a scrolling element. There is white space around it. If there is no white space around it, then the UI design of the application kind of sucks. So you have to change the UI design. You should not be changing the toolkit because the UI design sucks. That's not a great plan. You have to provide affordances. Starting file shows spins up all hard drives. Yes, and Oh, on where? No, KDE, right? Yeah. I love this. Directories should be read when they are opened. That is not true. That is not true. It's just no. Because if you did that, it would be slow. You have to preload stuff. But also, what the hell? It's likely caused by recent files on the spinning Rust drive and the file chooser trying to get metadata on them. Actually, if there are no shortcuts or symbolic links, then that issue is likely caused. I mean, yeah, the home is an SSD, but removable hard drives, hard drive here, I assume is a spinning Rust drive. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have stuff there, and then we try and preload it, because otherwise it gets really slow. I mean, there's nothing worse than going to a location and waiting 10 seconds because the HDD has to spin up, and then the kernel has to deal with it and then populate the entry, and then you have to do stat everywhere, and yeah, you have to pay a price somewhere. There is no free lunch. Again, this is the problem with people that know a little bit of how stuff works, or they know enough, but they don't know all the details. I'm about to say Dunning-Kruger, but it's not really Dunning-Kruger. It's just, if you thought about this for more than 15 minutes, you would realize why it's done the way it's done. Yeah. No comment after 4 years. Closing. I mean, 4 years. And no. Nothing. I'm sorry, but no. Technically speaking, we do triage so that we close stuff that hasn't got any feedback after usually a year and a half, 2 years tops. Otherwise, the issue tracker is useless. Back and forward shortcuts. Oh, I comment on that. We have a bunch of patches lying in GitLab because they were done right before the migration of GitLab, and they were attached to Bugzilla. And now we have to basically go through every single issue, find the patch if it exists, open a merge request, apply the patch, and then it would be a nice, if you don't know what to do, if you don't have time and you don't know what to do and you want to contribute to GTK, this is a good idea. This is a good thing to do. Go through the old issues in GitLab, find if they have a patch attached to them, and then try and apply it to GTK and open a merge request. If you want to, if you have time, this is a good idea. This is a good first contribution. Parse it and assign a label. I don't know if we can parse it. I think it could be possible to parse it. Look if there is an attachment. Yeah, there's API for GitLab. You can go through. There are limits to what you can do with the API because size. But yeah, you can go through the GitLab issues and then look if the comment has a attachment to it and if there is a patch somewhere. But that would only give you a list of issues with patches attached to them. The rest of the work has to be manual. You have to apply it to a tree and then fix up the issues because probably the patch hasn't been touched in years, and you have to do it manually, and then you have to open a merge request for that. Mostly, and I say this mostly because if you just do the basic, that is, download the patch, apply it, and if it fails, you leave a comment saying the patch does not apply anymore, nothing will happen. The issue will be closed. Because if nobody has bothered to open a merge request after attaching a patch 4 years ago, nothing will happen. It's way too late. So you have to do the work. I mean, if I didn't have anything else to do, I would do it. It's pretty mechanical, but yeah, it would be a good newcomer kind of thing. If you want to contribute to GTK but you don't know what to do, you don't have any idea, then go through the issues with a patch attached, download the patch, apply it, fix up, open a merge request. That would be great. Oh, thank you, Vlado. That would be great. Yeah, that would be a great contribution. Yeah, even having like a script that runs locally, checks for the issues that have a patch attached, like with a bunch of heuristics, but it's fine if it's not like 100% precise. And then sets a tag saying like patch or I don't know. And then we can tell people, go through the issues that are tagged with patch and open a merge request. That would be great. That would already be a massive improvement in the quality of life of the maintainers. Like this. Why? No. Oh, I'll start a new project. Open a project. Select a folder. I don't think we do. Yes, please install GTK GL area. We don't clear the depth buffer anymore, do we? Yeah, we enable depth test only if there's a depth. This has been fixed. At the very least, has been fixed in GTK 4. Let's see if we can. If we didn't fix it for source GTK 3. In cancel. We're already installing it. We don't care. I'm not going to build it. GTK GL area. Yeah, we do this. We already do this. Let's see. What the heck? Why? No. 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 If you have a depth buffer, then since depth buffers are created on demand and are not created by default, then we definitely, if you opted in to have a depth buffer, we enable depth testing. If you don't want depth testing, you disable depth testing. Yeah. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? A class in it? Class in it? Yeah, that buffer is false by default. At most, we could document the fact that setting particular GL area has that buffer all enable that testing as a side effect, but we should not change the behavior of the GL area. Also because this would break code that expects that testing to be enabled. Yeah, I'll probably add a documentation like hint there. I don't know in GTK 3, but definitely in GTK 4. Like here. GTK GL area here. And this property will enable GL that testing as a side effect. If you don't need that testing, you should call GL table. Wait. Yeah. In your GTK area under let's switch. And saving it. Get commit area document side effect of area as that buffer. We enable the testing when creating that buffer. Fixes 838. Whoa. I already have a branch named that way. Was it merged? Yes, it was. Or using the same branch name. Always fun. Right. No activity. Jesus. Okay. Yep. And we just merge it. Oh. Oh, what time is it? Oh. 2 hours and a half. I think we, yeah. Yeah, I think we can stop here for a while. Okay, let's go back to me. Right. Oh yeah, it's bedtime, definitely. Good. Have a good night. But yeah, the overall idea of doing bug fixes online, on bug fixes on stream, is mostly like this, so I can just talk and figure out stuff. The other option is literally me going on IRC or Matrix and just talking to people like a rubber duck. I do prefer like doing this. Also because if I'm talking to myself without anybody else listening, then it's weird. But if I don't, but if I have somebody else listening, then it's perfectly normal. Yeah. Yeah, this week has been interesting. The streaming has been an interesting experiment, mostly because it gave me structure to the week, which is always good. Otherwise, my executive function goes completely out of the window. So yeah, next week I'm gonna do documentation again, and on Monday at the very least, and then on Wednesday probably, and we're gonna go back to the beginner's tutorial for the developer documentation. I plan to go through a chunk of the layout managers at this point, because those are gonna be the I was gonna say boring part, but it's actually the more complicated part, because they're so generic. They will take time, so I'm planning to power through at the very least the main ones, and I'm also going to try and add the layout managers from Libandy, because they are useful. Sorry, not Libandy, Libadwaita, because they're useful and they're referenced in the HIG. So I want to ensure that we have a beginner's tutorial that touches them. And then this probably is gonna be like on Monday and Wednesday, and then on Friday I'll try and do some other bug fixing or feature development. I might even decide and touch the file chooser at some point. The file chooser is complicated. There's a lot of stuff to do there, and it's probably easier to literally raise it to the ground and start from scratch, within the strict confines of the API, of course. But yeah, the file chooser is such a disaster, but it's a disaster of our own making, and we will need to mop it up at some point. It's not fun. Also because as soon as you touch it, people will start hating you online. It's unavoidable. And I don't like that. It's not that I don't like being abused online, but also I don't like the fact that it ends up nerd sniping me. So I try and correct the record, and that takes time, and it's time that I don't want to spend on anybody online. Yeah, who knows? Maybe one day. Anyway, I think we can close the stream here. This VOD will be online on my YouTube channel. So if you want to, well, if you're hearing this, you're probably watching it on YouTube. So hi, YouTube. And if you like what I'm doing, then you should subscribe to my Twitch, twitch.tv/Ebasi, or you should subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is a weird name, and you will find a link there. And if you like what I do, just continue to follow me. And we shall see each other next week. Unless I do a last minute stream during the weekend about me playing games, because I like doing that. If not, see you on Monday with the documentation development, the documentation writing, and have a great weekend. And we shall see each other soon. Bye bye.